Welcome aboard. I'm Captain Wayne, and in today's repairing value video, I'm going to be replacing the hour meter on my tachometer. Now, I have a Yanmar engine, and when we bought this boat in Endeavor 42, it really didn't have a working hour meter. As a matter of fact, because the hour meter is a LCD display and it's completely blacked out, I didn't even realize there was an hour meter. The broker had taken the hours off of an old hour meter that was left on board the boat, but I knew that wasn't accurate. So I got online, did a little research and a little looking around, and I found that these hour meters, the LCD, is replaceable, and you can recover the hours that are on your motor by putting in a new LCD because the hours are maintained on a chip in the tachometer and not in the LCD itself. So all we need to be able to do is be able to read the hour meter and know what we got. So I started out by going online and I found a replacement LED for the hour meter. And we're going to go ahead and try to replace that real quick. And then I'll know for sure the hours on this engine. And I'll also know when to change the oil. So let's go ahead and get started. First thing I've got to do is go ahead and remove the engine panel from where it's mounted and then remove the tachometer.
Most of the Yanmar panels I've encountered have just 4 screws holding them in, one in each corner. There may be plastic caps over the screws, so check carefully. You also want to be careful when removing the panel not to tear the rubber gasket behind it. With the panel removed, turn it over so you can access the back of it. You may want to place a rag underneath. Remove the electrical plug by pulling straight up. You'll have to firmly pull on it and work it a little bit to get it to come out. You will need a number 10 Torx driver to remove the 4 screws holding the tachometer into the panel. With the tachometer removed, we can take it to a better work location where we won't lose any of the small parts. Using a small pick tool, I lift out the rubber gasket holding the meter lens in place. This gasket is just a press fit, so it comes out fairly easily, but you're going to have to take your time to work it out. The tricky part is being careful not to damage the gasket as you do this. Slowly work your way around the circumference, lifting from the bottom of the gasket as you go. At a certain point, you'll just be able to pull it out by hand. Setting the gasket aside, you can now lift out the lens and any other remaining parts over the face of the meter. Keep track of the order that these parts came out, as you're going to want to put them back in the same order. There are 3 screws holding the guts of the meter into the case. You'll need your number 10 Torx driver again. With all the screws removed, you should be able to easily drop out the working parts of the tachometer. If need be, you can push on the back of the electrical pins where you removed the plug earlier. Make a note, there are some tiny notches on the edge of the faceplate in several locations. You'll need to note these as you'll have to align the faceplate up with these later. The faceplate is glued on with a contact type adhesive. So using a putty knife, you can carefully work the blade just underneath the faceplate and work it all the way around to loosen up the bond. Take your time to slowly lift the faceplate up. With the faceplate loosened up, it's time to remove the indicator needle. Turn the needle counterclockwise till it hits the stop, and then firmly turning it further counterclockwise against the stop while lifting, the needle should come off relatively easily. We can now finish lifting the faceplate off of the meter. Again, take your time to slowly release the adhesive. With the faceplate removed, we can now get a good view of the LCD display. You can also see where the ribbon wire is connected to the circuit board. The first thing I want to do is go ahead and remove the ribbon wire. There are two little tabs on either side of the wedge connector connecting the wire to the circuit board. Carefully lift up these two tabs and you can easily pull out the ribbon wire. With the ribbon wire disconnected, we can now go ahead and remove the LCD display. Some of the videos I watched online showed this display easily coming loose, but on my meter it seemed to be glued in pretty tightly, and in the end I had to break it into a couple of pieces to get it fully out. This thing put up a surprisingly good fight, but in the end I was able to cleanly extract it from the meter. If there's any glue residue left on the meter, now is the time to go ahead and clean that off. With everything cleaned up and ready to go, it's time to put the new LCD in place. The new LCD didn't come with any adhesive on the back, so I just used a little bit of silicone sealant to glue it in place. Carefully insert the ribbon wire through the slot in the housing. With the LCD in place, the last step is to connect the ribbon wire to the connector to the circuit board. This proved to be a little bit trickier than I had thought, so I ended up having to take the circuit board off of the back of the faceplate in order to gain better access. There are three plastic studs holding the circuit board in place. These plastic studs are split down the middle, and by using a pair of pliers gently squeezing the stud together, it would easily slip out of the hole in the circuit board. A little gentle nudging and the circuit board came loose. With better visibility to the top of the circuit board, I could easily see the slot that the ribbon wire needed to slip into. This way I knew for sure that the ribbon cable was properly seated in the wedge clamp. Once the cable was seated, it was a simple matter to simply press the wedge clamp closed. With that complete, I could snap the circuit board back onto the stud of the main unit. With that part complete, and before fully reassembling the unit, I wanted to do a quick test to make sure everything worked. The simplest way to test it was to simply plug it back into the plug back at the main panel and turn the ignition key on. Fortunately, everything appeared to be working just fine, so it was time to take the gauge back below and finish reassembling it. Reassembling everything is pretty straightforward, but do not forget to take off any protective film before fully reassembling. The adhesive on the back of the faceplate was still fairly tacky, so I didn't add any new adhesive to it. Be careful lining up the faceplate with the notches we talked about earlier. With the notches lined up, firmly press the faceplate back down onto the housing reinstall the indicator needle by pressing down and turning counterclockwise, similar to the way you removed it. Make sure that the needle lines up with the 0 when fully pressed against the stop. Otherwise, your meter will not read correctly when you run the engine. With that done, we can replace the outer housing along with the lens and bezels. When reinstalling the outer housing, make sure to line up the electrical pins with the slots in the back of the meter. Make sure everything fits correctly and is properly lined up before putting the screws back in from the back side. With the unit secured back in the housing, I can replace the bezel and the lenses. At first I had a little trouble getting the lens in until I discovered that there's a little notch that the lens has to be lined up with. Another reason never to force anything and take your time and make sure the parts go back together the way they should. With everything reassembled, it's time to put the tachometer back into the main panel. This is pretty much the reverse of taking it out. Simply put the 4 screws back in and replug the electrical connector and you're good to go. Forget to do that final test before putting all your tools away.
Okay, that finishes it up. That was a remarkably easy job, all in all. And now I know my engine wires for sure, and I'm also going to know when to change the oil. I could have put on a separate tachometer, but hey, this is much nicer. And this was about a $30 repair. So that's pretty rare these days that you can fix anything on your boat for 30 bucks. So if you've got a bad LCD hour meter display, don't be afraid to go ahead and change it out. Look on eBay or Amazon or just Google Yanmar replacement LCD and you'll find a ton of them out there for not a lot of money. This is a pretty common problem on these tachometers. If you found this and some of my other videos helpful, please consider signing up on my Patreon account. Every little bit helps. Thanks for watching, and remember, the fun never stops when you own a boat.